Hi, it's me, Termo, Motivation and Beard. Welcome to this new video. Finally, the much promised interview, the first of the promised interviews, has arrived. So today, I'm going to introduce you to the nurse Vulnologist who has taken care of me practically from the beginning and still gives me a hand with dressing rather than new ointments that can help me with the irritations inside the prosthesis. Because unfortunately, this is a reality. No matter how well we live with the prosthesis, we often find ourselves in situations where blisters form, where irritations form, or hair becomes ingrown. And even something as stupid as an ingrown hair can stop us for days, because clearly we cannot continue to irritate a point that already hurts, that is already irritated, that is already swollen. Otherwise we risk flashing out, and this will lead us to stay still even longer. So as usual, I thank you for everything you do for me, because even a simple sharing means so much to me. So thank you. Thank you for the comments, the constructive comments, the appreciative comments, and thank you for finally getting some help. Yes, I'm talking to all of you who have contacted me to ask for my advice. I'm glad I can be here and be able to help you guys out. Unfortunately, every now and then I have my limitations. I can't answer everyone and maintaining a continuous conversation. However, I try to help you as much as I can. So forgive me for my shortcomings. Having said that and made this small presentation, I've got to tell you that the interview is a bit long. Not too long, but I prefer to divide into two videos, so that it is also more enjoyable. So the first part will be released this week. Next week we will meet the nurse again with the second part of the interview. With that being said, thanks have been given. All that is left is to go to today's video. Let me know how do you like it. Hi, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Cristina. I'm a nurse, so-called wound care specialist, or rather vulnologist. And precisely, I take care of difficult wounds, or rather, I take care of a patient who is at career or at risk of skin injury. Skin wounds normally heal easily, especially traumatic ones, but in some cases chronic or traumatic ones get complicated and start to be a bit of a pain in the neck. They come quickly, but they become so attached to the patient that it's a bit difficult to get rid of them, and so I come into play. I take care of this patient and try to help them get through this moment, and it is not only a question of medication or devices or whatever, but the field is much broader. Because it must then be inserted into a sort of pathway in which there is not only the nurse, myself, a vulnologist, together with the patient, but all around there are a number of doctors or other health professionals non-medical that I use to make sure that this patient reaches healing as quickly as possible, or, if it's not possible, for example, in neoplastic lesions, at least a decent level of well-being. There you go.
Okay, so now tell us about your professional background. How did you get to Rimini Hospital?
So I started by studying down at the University of L'Aquila, the city I'm from. After graduating, I thought it would be a good idea to take a leap of faith and came to Rimini as a summer enhancement for emergency services 11-8. I did a year in the old Rimini Soccorso, now Romagna Soccorso, and then, after that, I made the competition in the local health authority of Rimini at the time. I won and I became part of the family, precisely of the Hospital of Rimini in orthopedics. I did a year or so in orthopedics ward, then I moved to the orthopedics casting room, and there I started to be interested also in purely cutaneous wounds, the traumatic ones. And then I got my master's degree at University La Sapienza in Rome, and that's where it all started. I became the traumatic injury patient manager first, and then slowly corporate consultant wound care and corporate consultant for negative pressure therapy.
Oh yes, at the plaster room where we later met. My next question is going to be, what was the status of my situation from your perspective? What was it like for you as a nurse when you first saw me?
This was my reaction. Oh god! I tear my hair out. There was a lot to do and it was going to be a challenge. You arrived in a very bad condition, we all know that. And it was. I still have chills even now. It was honestly, we didn't know if we could save your leg or not, and also your life, because you were in a very dramatic situation. But come on, I'm praising myself a little. We were really good. We tried in every way to make sure that you didn't lose your leg because you were very young. Because we had in mind to save you as much as possible, and we succeeded between ups and downs. I mean, we knew exactly what risk you would be in after such a major trauma. But we put a number of possibilities on the scale and choose the one with the least risk. Honestly, thinking of directly amputating a leg on such a young boy is never the first choice, unless there is a matter of life. That's it. If you have to save a life, you have to amputate the leg. Okay, but you were not in that condition at that time, and so we chose to do this other type of surgery.
Alright. One thing I've always wondered is, regardless of what happened to me, what does a doctor base their decision on if amputation might be the right course of action rather than the other way around?
It's obvious that if infections, especially soft tissue and bone infections, are quite recurrent and the patient's quality of life is diminished, let's say he's more in the hospital than at home, and especially he's a young guy anyway, he has his whole life ahead of him. In that case, then, you can start to think about something like that, and it's very important. Not all orthopedic surgeons can make that kind of choice. Doctors and nurses are human beings for whom you empathize. When there are young guys and you see them almost as children, as if it were my child. What would I do? From a purely intellectual standpoint. Okay, so let's do this, let's say that. The problem is that we are Italian, we are Latino, so we have a different kind of outlook on life. If we were maybe in Germany or in the United States, they wouldn't have all these problems. That's how we are. It's quite a difficult choice. But then, when we see that situation, the worsening situation for which the well-being of the patient is diminished, or there are always surprises, or you always come to bother me in the clinic, then we try to find the right way.
Focusing more on the therapies aspect, as I mentioned in the previous video, I would like to talk for a moment about the VAC, which I don't want to say one thing for another, but I remember was being tested in Rimini at that time, right?
Actually, VAC is a misnomer because it is a hidden advertisement, because it's from a well-known American company brand. It is called negative pressure wound therapy, and no, actually, it has been used for years in other places. Here in Rimini back then, it had been used for only a few years, and we, in the orthopedic casting room, began to use this type of instrumentation or device. Negative pressure therapy is essentially a machine that does vacuum on wounds. There are two types, actually now three. The basic type, the first one, was the vacuum. Then, again, this company, the American company, launched it on the world market. They also invented the washer dryer, so for you to understand, from the vacuum we have the washer dryer. And at this point in history, we had for about, I don't want to say something crazy, about 10 years and maybe a little bit more, disposable negative pressure therapy systems that are used for simpler injuries or in the prevention of surgical site infections. But that's another thing. The one you used was the vacuum. In summary, an actual vacuum dressing you put a foam or gauze on. It depends on the type of the wound, the depth. We choose it on the basis of series of parameters, the type of dressing, and then it is put directly on the bed of the wound. Then on the wound a film is applied, and then a small hole is made and a small tube is placed on this small hole that goes into the machine and sucks in air and at the same time causes it to release pressure. The negative pressure, in short, makes the vacuum on the lesion, and this type of device causes the formation of new vessels on the bed of the lesion. More oxygenation, and so are removed all the exudates that should not be on the bed of the lesion. It cleans the wound, it absorbs the exudates because otherwise the wound will never heal. And there is a right gradient of moisture, because I say it all openly here and I emphasize it and I underline it. Wounds heal in a moist environment. They shouldn't be allowed to dry out or they'll never heal. There's a proper moisture gradient that the wound needs to be in, and the negative pressure does that. Plus, it assists because it results in the formation of a new vessel, so oxygen and blood. It has a continuous cleaning. The dressing, if it is in foam, is changed every 48 hours. If in a gauze, every 72 hours. And of course it depends. For how long? Depends on the injury. However, there are guidelines, including regional ones, that tell you that after 21, maximum 28 days, it is not the case to use it, because it must take effect in a short time and does not serve to heal wounds. It serves to improve the bed of the lesion and then proceed to a plastic surgery, then a graft, a flap rotation or whatever, also called advanced dressings.
Well, we have come to the end of today's video. I'm glad I was able to share this first part of the experience. The second one will continue, as I said at the beginning of the video, next week. I'm glad I could shoot this video with Cristina, because she meant so much to me anyway, both professional as a person and as a friend. And I'm happy that she had decided to be part of this little project of mine. It's something very, very important to me, and I'm very, very grateful to her. So I thank her now, as I will thank her in the next video, because she meant so much to me. I thank you too, for the comments, the shares. And if you still have questions, if you have doubts, if you want to ask me anything about my life as an amputee, or if you want to ask for advices on the path you are taking, I'm here to help. Do it in the comments or in the other social networks, of which you find the links in the description of this video. If you have not subscribed yet to my channel, take a moment to do so now. Click on the subscribe button, then on the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss of my content again. Thank you for being with me today, and see you in the next video.